Vendor risk management and compliance could make or break your vendor base. We've got 5 points to cover here, and at the end of this video, you'll have actionable steps you can take to apply within your business. To start with, you want to understand where you're spending money and where that money is traveling along within your vendor supply chain. When we start exploring the supply chain, and I like to think of it as this ginormous, and yes, I use the word ginormous, web of interlaced vendors and contracts, super complex, spanning the globe. And what we need to realize when we look down to the nth tier is how vastly connected we are with so many different providers and businesses in this globalized manner. But how do we get this data? One thing I like to do is place clauses within my contracts that look into supply chain visibility. I want to know your top 5 vendors that you use to provide the service or goods to me. And yeah, of course, sometimes there's a little bit of, hey, we don't want to reveal that information, but normally I've got a bunch of flow down provisions within my contracts, and I need to know that they're flowing them down. There's going to be a lot of transparency around this. It's not so that we can get around them and start engaging with those vendors. It's about mutual trust here, being super open and working in partnership with our vendors, and we can make accommodations to mitigate any risks of that ever happening. And I just want to point out that we would only do this for our most important vendors under our segmentation model. Compliance isn't a tick box exercise, but so many people treat it like it is. Asking your vendors to complete forms as you onboard them or go through any one of your procurement or contract processes is a great start. You're going to get good data. But carrying out on-site audits and visits of your vendors is such a good opportunity to find out even more about how they're doing things, if what they've written down on these forms is actually accurate, looking into matters of sustainability, ESG. Modern slavery is a very important one around this point as well. So making sure that your vendors align with your expectations around how they work, absolutely vital that you get on site and audit these vendors of yours. And before all of this happens, we want to make sure that we're sourcing vendors via our RFX process or however it is we're going about sourcing in a manner which aligns to the way in which we expect our vendors to work with us. So all of this should be basic yes, no compliance matrix type things whenever we go out to new vendors to see if they want to work with us, see if there's a good potential there for our relationship. And we want to build resiliency into our vendor base. If we've only got one vendor who is currently performing a specific service or providing some components or goods to us, we're in a position where, say, perhaps a bank failure on their end, a different macroeconomic event, a pandemic shuts down part of the world, perhaps we can't access them anymore. We can't then create our service or product offering, and our customers are going to suffer, the entire supply chain is going to suffer. There's a whole bunch of consequences we need to avoid there. So making sure that we've got multiple vendors that can provide services and goods to us is so critical. Even if we say don't use them, or we only use them for a very small percentage of the sourcing activities that we're undertaking, that could be a really good way to de-risk this area and then ramp up with them if we need to in the future. And yes, I appreciate that some of you, and I've had this in the past, we've got one vendor for a reason. They're the only vendor who can deliver whatever it is we need. So if this is the case, this is an ideal candidate for supply relationship management here, where you treat them as a true partner, you really entwine the way in which you working to common goals, objectives, you're profiteering together out of whatever it is you are doing. It's a really good candidate for that. And next, we want to centralize all of this data and all of these relationships and everything I've just been speaking about. And this is why I love just going into Gatekeeper and using it, because I know that whatever's happening in my vendor base, with any one of my contracts, a relationship, a specific person, I can see it all in one place, and I know absolutely everything that's going on at all times from just chilling out in my office chair looking at my screen. And should the worst happen with one of your vendors, something goes wrong, we can put in risk mitigation workflows, so processes that deal with risk events happening. We can review, evaluate, discuss these with our vendor, but we've got this audit trail of all of this happening to make sure that nothing ever goes under the radar or falls between the cracks. That very awful corporate saying that means so much, that I've heard so many times in my career. We're going to eliminate that by having everything in one place and easy to use and access. With these 5 best practices in your hands, you're going to be in a really good position to manage risk and compliance with your vendors at any time of the year within your organization, and you know that you're doing everything in a legal manner, that you're going to pass your audits and you're just going to crush it overall. But before you go, make sure you check out this video that we made. It's all about managing your vendor risk in 2023. You might get some really good insights from it, and we'll see you real soon, my friends. Goodbye.